morning, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Grade 4 News. I'm your host, Mr. D'Souza. Now, hopefully everyone is settling in remote learning pretty well. And let's switch over for our first news segment I like to call Thought of the Day.
Hi kids, did you know that music is also a form of poetry? That's a topic that we covered thoroughly last term. It's a very powerful way to express your feelings. Here's a little song I wrote when I found out that we had to go back to remote learning. Hope you enjoy it.
Alright everyone, for English today, we will be looking at pronouns. Now, what are pronouns? First of all, let's have a quick recap on what nouns are. Okay, nouns. What are nouns? If you said naming words, you are correct. Okay, so nouns are pretty much, anything like any word that is used as a name for something. So anything from like name of a person, chairs, tables, anything, dogs, anything, okay? They're naming words. Let's keep going. Proper nouns, remember these? So proper nouns are nouns that always start with a capital letter. So for example, names, places, days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're all proper nouns, and months. So January, February, March, April, May, they all start with capital letters. Can you think of any other types of proper nouns? Okay, let's keep going. Now let's have a look at pronouns, okay? So pronouns basically are words that replace nouns in a sentence. Okay, let's take an example. Let's have a look at this example. Fred is a good boy. Fred loves eating KFC. Does that sentence sound a bit funny? That's because they're not using pronouns. Okay, let's have a look at this one as well. Bob has a motorbike. The motorbike goes really fast. Now, technically, these sentences are correct, but grammarly, they're a little bit off. How can we change these sentences to make them flow more, sound more fluently? Okay. Let's try replacing some of these proper nouns with pronouns. So for example, instead of saying Fred is a good boy, Fred loves eating KFC, let's have a look here. Let's say Fred is a good boy who loves eating KFC. See how it flows a bit more? Let's have a look at the second sentence. Bob has a motorbike which, or you can write that, goes really fast. See, just by replacing one word with a pronoun can make a big difference in the way a sentence will flow, okay? So now that you've got that skill set, I want you to turn to your Oxford grammar books and complete. Now let's recap our long division strategies. All right, now let's have a look at these two, for example. 5 into 705, okay, that's a big number. Now, so let's break it down. How many times does 5 go into 7? Only once, yeah? Then we carry, how much remainder is left over? 2, okay? So we carry the 2 and put it there, okay? Now it becomes 5 into 20. Well, if you know your 5 times tables, it would be 4. And finally, 5 into 5, easy peasy, just once, okay? 141. Now let's have a look at this example. How many times does 3 go into 7? The closest we can get without going over 7 would be 2 times, because 3 times 2 equals 6. Okay, so 3 goes into 3 goes into 7 2 times with 1 left over, because 3 times 2 equals 6. Okay, Now 3 into 11, that's a tricky one. Well, we know 3 times 4 is 12, but that's a bit over, so we can't do that. So the next closest option we have is 3 times 3, which is 9. So how many left over? 2. Okay, so 3 times 3 equals 9. So 3 goes into 11 3 times. Okay, and how much left over? We have 2. Okay. Now 3 into 20. That's a tricky one. Well, the closest we can get without going over 20 would be 6, because 3 times 6 equals 18. Okay. Now 3 times, so the answer would be 6, but we've got 2 left over. Whoops. Let's get rid of that. Oh no! There we go. Technology. I'm still getting used to it. Okay. So we've got 2 left over, and all we need to do is write remainder 2. Okay? Easy, right? You guys should be experts at this already. So do those mathematical questions. Alright, now let's continue on with our topic of fractions and decimals, or equivalent tenths and hundredths to be more precise. Let's have a look at this example, okay? In today's work, you need to write down whether it is greater than, less than, or equal to. Now, is 4 over 10 greater, less than, or equal to 7 over 10? Let's have a look at this number line. We know that 1 over 10 is there, 5 over 10 is in the middle, and 10 over 10, or 1 whole, is over here, okay? So 4 over 10 would be just before the 5 over here, right? So, alright, 4 over 10. And 7 over 10 would be about here, 7 out of 10. So what would the answer be? Well, we would know that 4 over 10 is less than 7 over 10 because of this number line. Alright, now let's have a look at this one. 7 over 10 and 70 over 100. Oh, that sounds like a lot here. But what does this fraction sign mean again? If you said divide, then you are correct. So 7 divided by 10 equals 0.7. At the same time, if you did 70 divided by 100, you would also get 0.7. So that would mean that 7 over 10 is equal to 7 over 100. Let's take a look at one more example before we move on. Let's have a look at this example. 8 over 10, 60 over 100. Greater than, less than, or equal to? Well, let's have a look, okay? Just to help illustrate it, I've just drawn up some graphs here. Okay, so 8 out of 10 we know would look a little something like this. It would look, whoops. 8, sorry, I should stop it. 8 out of 10, that's what it would look like, okay? Now, 60 over 100, let's just say each block is worth 10, okay? 60 over 100 would look like this. 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It would look like that, okay? Okay, so just by doing that, it's easy to say that 8 over 10 is greater than 6 over 100. Now at first glance, you look at this and think, oh, 60 over 100, that's more than 8 over 10. It looks more, but if you get a calculator and did 8 divided by 10, you would get 0.8, sorry, And if you divided 60 by 100, you would get 0.6. So on the number line, oops, sorry. So on the number line, you get 8 over 10, roughly about there, and 6 over 10 about here. Okay? Just to help illustrate it. Okay? Let's move on.
Hi kids, let's talk about the first force today. Have you heard of the word torque before? Well, it's actually more commonly known as the turning force, okay? So for example, on a steering wheel, I can turn the steering wheel with one hand, yeah? But if I use two hands, if I was turning to the left, this right hand will be pulling it up, and my left hand will be pulling it down, creating much more of a torque, okay? Right, now this last force we're going to look at is centripetal force, or centripetal force. Now here, I'm holding a bucket full of water, okay? Now if I were to swing this bucket around, what do you think will happen? Well, if I swing it around fast enough, the centripetal force is actually pulling away from the bucket, which keeps the water in place. For example, but make sure you don't slow down, because if you slow down, the centripetal force will decrease as well, and this might happen. So there you have it, kids. Centripetal force.
Alright guys, that's about it for today's episode of Grade 4 News. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you tomorrow. God bless.